Hey CBC Youth, and welcome to this week's Sunday School recap video. So today we're talking about some of the miracles of Jesus. So we saw his birth a couple weeks ago, and then we saw how he came to a point in his life when he could call disciples, right? Those he could teach. We saw his baptism with John the Baptist, obviously before he called the disciples. And so we get to a point in Jesus' story when he is doing these things that is showing the world his divinity, showing the world that he is God, and showing them, trying to show them that they have a way out of their sin and the things that he's preaching and those kinds of things. So we get to a point now, he's about to feed 5,000 people. The story says 5,000 men, but it also says that there was women and children there. So, some estimates are up to 15 to 20,000. So we're right there. By this time, Jesus had already had his conversation with Nicodemus. He had already had his conversation with the woman at the well. And John the Baptist has been murdered by Herod. So just some context around what's going on right here. So let me read for us John 6, 1 through 15, in order to give us a good overview of what's going on right here. So let me read that real quick. It says, "Sometime after this, Jesus crossed to the far shore of the Sea of Galilee, and a great crowd of people followed him because they had saw the signs he had performed by healing the sick. Then Jesus went up on a mountainside and sat down with his disciples. The Jewish Passover festival was near. When he looked up and saw a great crowd coming toward him, he said, 'Philip, where shall we buy bread for these people to eat?' He asked this only to test him, for he had already had in mind what he was going to do. Philip answered him, 'It would take more than half a year's wages to buy enough bread for each one to have a bite.' Another of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up, 'Here is a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish, but how far will they go among so many?' Jesus said, 'Have the people sit down.' There was plenty of grass in that place, and they sat down. About 5,000 men were there. Jesus took the loaves, gave thanks, distributed to those who were seated as much as they wanted. He did the same with the fish. When they all had enough to eat, he said to his disciples, 'Gather the pieces that are left over. Let nothing be wasted.' So they gathered them and filled 12 baskets with the pieces of 5 barley loaves left over by those who had eaten. After the people saw the sign Jesus had performed, they began to say, 'Surely this is the prophet who comes into this world.' Jesus, knowing that they intended to come and make him king by force, withdrew again to the mountain by himself." So this is another pretty amazing story of some of the things Jesus did while he was on earth, right? There was a problem and Jesus solved it with a miracle, right? And so that's the cool thing that we can learn, and we've seen a lot of ministries today is a lot of times it helps to open the conversation to meet a spiritual need if we also meet a physical need. And so Jesus understood that. And we see Jesus meeting physical needs a lot of times. But, however, the most important thing, like we saw when we read the story with the paralyzed man, is Jesus can forgive, right? Jesus can forgive. And that's fulfilling the spiritual need. And Jesus can, we can have that personal relationship with Jesus, right? But the physical needs are important too. And we can help meet those as well as the spiritual needs with Jesus working through us. So just to kind of tie it all together in Colossians, just kind of relate the gospel to the story and to our lives, what it means for us and how we can respond to it. So Colossians 1, 15 through 17, it says, "The Son is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. For him, all things were created in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones, powers, or rulers or authorities. All things have been created through him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together." So, reading this and seeing the things he did in his life, we know that he is God. We know that he has the power over all things. We know that he has the power over the molecules that make up that fish and bread, right? I was kind of think about it on that kind of level, just with my background in science. But like from the smallest thing to the biggest thing, to the mundane things, to the things that we would say important, to our own individual lives, God has power and authority over that. We can choose to act like he doesn't, and that's going to make for a tough life, because we'll have no hope. But that's not the case, and that's not what Jesus wants. So I hope this just was a little reminder of Jesus' power and authority, and his love for you, and he has power and authority over the physical things, over the spiritual things, and that's good news for us. Like, I'm telling you, that's good. I mean, I've known I've seen in my own life when I'm trying to control every little single thing, most of the time it doesn't turn out well. So, this is just another story of Jesus doing something that is showing the world that he is God. And I hope that you know that too. So, I love you guys. I truly do. I hope to see you soon. We got our Wednesday night stuff, our Sunday morning stuff, and our high school small groups on Sunday night. So if you can make it to those, I'd love to see you. But hope you guys have a great week.